Thank you for joining us for the webinar on how to get involved in NAFTZ. My name is Victoria Cartwright, Director of Events and Education at NAFTZ, and I will be moderating the event today. We are joined by speakers Eric Berry and Leyland Heim. Eric Berry is the Director of Trade Services with Point Trade Services Incorporated and supervises a wide range of programs, leveraging his broad knowledge of program management principles and a strategic mindset to lead and develop team members. He is a licensed customs broker who provides foreign trade zone consulting with the goals of achieving excellence in the areas of compliance and operational efficiency. He is experienced in providing consulting services related to the preparation of foreign trade zone feasibility analysis, compliance reviews, prior disclosures, review and development of procedure manuals, FTZ activation, and CBP security surveys, as well as research for other zone-related studies and project management. He also has experience administering the day-to-day operations of foreign trade zones. His operational experience includes FTZ admissions, transfers, adjustments, shipments, system reviews, reconciliation and issues, troubleshooting, and resolution. In addition to being a licensed customs broker, Eric is an accredited zone specialist and an active member of NAFTZ, currently serving as chair of the membership committee. Our second speaker, Leyland Heim, has been involved in the Foreign Trade Zone program for over 9 years and currently is the FTZ manager that oversees the administration for our subzone in Los Angeles, California for Sony Electronics Incorporated. She also has had roles in activation, deactivation of FTZs in Laredo, Texas, Miami, Florida, and Chicago, Illinois for Sony. She has a strong background with import compliance, freight forwarding, and system intricacies relating to FTZ inventory control. She is a member of the Operator User Committee and chairs the Accreditation Committee for NAFTZ. Leyland holds current certifications as an Accredited Zone Specialist and Certified Customs Specialist. Eric and Leyland will speak and address questions throughout the presentation. We encourage you to type in those questions throughout, and they will do their best to address them. Today is groundbreaking in that we are offering live tweeting of today's event, so we encourage you to join us in our social media outlets with hashtag NAFTZ all caps, then lowercase webinar. So again, that's hashtag NAFTZ webinar. We'll open up the presentation, and after the event, we will send you a copy of the PowerPoint. So again, type in those questions, and Eric, you can take it away.
Okay, thank you, Victoria. And I just wanted to say welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar. We all appreciate your interest in the National Association of Foreign Trade Zones. We thank you for expressing your interest, whether you are a current member looking at ways to get more involved in the association, or whether you're not a member of the association and you're interested to find out more. We really appreciate you joining this. And as Victoria said, please feel free to ask questions along the way. We will do our best to answer them as we go. And if we have time left over at the end of the presentation, we'll certainly be glad to take more Q&A time as well. And Leyland, she is here as well. I'm going to lead off, but Leyland will feel free to chime in whenever you like, and we'll just have a good conversation about the association. Are the slides presenting now, Victoria? Or do I need to do something?
It should be showing right now. We've got the...
I can see it. Perfect, and we can live tweet that. This is my first live tweet experience as far as I know. So I'm excited about that. So just a little note about the association. You know, why are we here? Why does the association exist? This is just a snapshot of a 40-year period for the association. The association was started in 1972, and as things are now, they've been this way historically. Things change in the industry. Things change in trade. And you can see all kinds of things that have happened in the foreign trade zone industry throughout the years. Well, the foreign trade zone program has been changing. So has the NAFTZ been there to provide a collective voice for the industry, to provide input and feedback to various government officials, government agencies, to the industry. And if there's one thing we know, change is pretty much guaranteed in the industry. And so while change is happening, we need to have an association that is equipped and ready to participate and guide the industry along. So we expect that that will continue, and that's one of the main reasons that we are here, is not only to help each other and to benefit from the association as members, but what the association can do for the industry benefits everyone. So I think that's very important. We have a vision and a mission, and we can share those just a little bit now, just to highlight some of the really important points that I thought would be important to point out. Is we're here to serve members, we're here to serve partners in the Foreign Trade Zone program. We're certainly an organization of advocacy, but we're also an organization of education. We learn so much from each other and so much from the association, and we do it as a public and a private partnership. This is a very unique association in that we have a multitude of members from different industries, from different backgrounds, from different public and private organizations. And of course, we have a united goal, and that is economic development, development of trade, and of course, job creation and investment. So all important things. And so that's the vision of the NAFTZ. So what's the mission that we have to carry it out? So as we're together in the program, we really want to be the principal educator, and we want to lead and demonstrate our value to this changing environment. We also know that because we have so many members across the country, grantees, service providers, operators, users, people from other associations, we really reach a large portion of the country in many different places. So as economic development is important to our country and it's important to local communities, we really feel like the NAFTZ's mission is to promote economic prosperity in all the areas that we are, and we're really uniquely equipped to do that because of the fact that we are from all places in the United States. Now we're going to have just a polling question in just a minute to ask what industry you're from and to ask how many years you've been in the industry. I think it will help us as we go through the presentation. So I wanted to give everyone a heads up that that's what we'll be doing soon, and we look forward to hearing that information. I wanted to also just add a little bit more emphasis on the association's role in advocacy, because as the association has been an advocate for the industry all along throughout its history, and as we've just seen, there's many things that change over time. We're currently involved in an advocacy campaign right now, because if anyone has read the papers, read the internet, noticed anything, as some say, if you unless you have been living under a rock, we have a lot of trade issues going on right now in our country, and now more than ever, it's very important that the association works hard to work with congressional decision makers, government agencies, whether that's customs, whether that's the Foreign Trade Zones Board, whether it is legislators. We all want to make sure that the message of the Foreign Trade Zones program and the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zones program are communicated to the people that make decisions, that implement policies, because the implications of the trade policies and the legislation that is made has implications for the industry and the whole country. We had a very successful time last February at the NAFTZ Legislative Summit, where we met in Washington, D.C. and had some time to spend with some members of Congress to give some awards to them for their advocacy for the industry and to educate. We thought it was very good that that message was shared, and we had a lot of positive feedback for that. And additionally, with our advocacy campaign that we're doing right now, we want to make sure that we're always in the forefront of championing the FTZ industry. The FTZ program was created by an act of Congress to facilitate international trade. So this is something we all want to happen. It was the intent of the act to make that happen, and we want to make sure we do our part as well to make that happen. So Victoria, if you will, let's do the poll question. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Let's do the poll question. What is your industry role?
I'll give you guys 30 seconds to respond.
So as you're responding to those questions, I was going to just mention a little bit. You certainly heard the bios that we had, but I'm a service provider, so I'm from the service providing industry, part of the NAFTZ program. And Leyland, who's joining me on this, she is from the operator user side of the spectrum. So even here in the presentation, we have different perspectives, and I think that's one of the things that brings a lot of strength to the association.
Great. So we've got our responses. Looks like the majority operator user.
Well, welcome operators and users. So I think it's good to see that. So we have a lot of operator and users, and we of course have some grantees, a few service providers, and other. Welcome other as well. So let's talk a little bit about your industry and what makes up the NAFTZ.
And actually, Eric, were you ready for the second question? We'll get how many years they've been in the industry.
Sure, let's do that one now. Let's do that since we're in the mode of the questions.
About 20 seconds.
So as you're answering those questions, one of the things we thought would be interesting to know as far as who's attending the seminar, this webinar right now, is how many years you have in the industry. Because when we have a webinar like this that's talking about getting more involved in the NAFTZ and finding more information out about the NAFTZ, we wanted to see what the spread of experience was. So, Victoria, I think the results are in.
Yes. So it looks like the majority are 4 or more years with 61%.
Okay. Well, see, I think this makes a good point about what we were hoping this webinar would do. We want to make sure that we share information about the association for someone who's newly a member of the industry, or maybe someone who's considering joining the association or wondering what the benefits would be to join. But we also have many members who are asking questions about how they can get more involved and how they can make sure that they are getting the most out of their membership in the association. And we firmly believe that there are benefits for everyone. And there's certainly a lot to offer. And we're going to go through some of that today as part of this webinar. Just to talk about the membership types, we've mentioned it before in the polling question. We just wanted to go through an overview of who makes up the Foreign Trade Zones program. So the first category is grantee. As every port of entry is entitled to have a grant of authority for the Foreign Trade Zone program, we have many grantees that are part of our membership, and they are the group that has been granted the privilege of operating and maintaining the Foreign Trade Zone grant in their local area. And depending on the state, this could be public agencies, political subdivisions, private corporations. It all depends on the state enabling legislation, but they are the group that has the grant of authority from the Foreign Trade Zones Board and administrates the FTZ program in their local area. And we have very strong support in the grantee realm, and they do so much for the association. But we also have operators and users. So if a company is a corporation, partnership, or even a person who is processing or in the midst of processing an application to get approved for their foreign trade zone, whether they process their own merchandise through an FTZ or whether they maybe take advantage of an FTZ, but someone else is providing the operator services, either way, there's a category and there's a place for you if you're in that situation for operators and for users. And as with the grantees, as they provide the information and the wealth of knowledge from their viewpoint, we have operators and users who provide information, ask questions, share questions and answers with one another about operational issues, about the industry, about the ways to benefit from the program. So as you can already see, with this type of organization with different types of members, we're actually stronger, we're more diverse, and the wealth of information even increases. So we also have service providers as members. That's the group that I'm a member of. But if you're a company with a commercial interest in the program, but you're not an operator, you're not a grantee, an example might be attorneys or consultants, service providers such as software providers, et cetera, 3PLs maybe. If you're a service provider and you provide service in the industry, you certainly have a place in the NAFTZ. And there's a wealth of knowledge that comes from our service providers. I find that the environment in the NAFTZ is like no other. What other association has a combination of those three main groups between operator users, grantees, and service providers all working for a common goal? I think it makes us very unique, very strong, and I think it allows the membership to have access to all kinds of different information from various points of view to help learn and to make decisions. Now, we also have a place for everyone. So we have an associate membership for folks that are in the industry or other trade association groups that may have an interest in the foreign trades program. They are certainly welcome, and we have a category for that. And of course, if you're an affiliate, you can also join the association and receive benefits and education as well. So you may not have a commercial interest in the program, but you may have an educational interest or civic interest. We have it covered on every front. And so we welcome you to consider joining if you are not a member, and review how you might be able to fit into the membership, because we've got a place for you if you're out there. Lena, do you have anything at this point?
No.
All right, we're good. So let's just talk a little bit about the benefits. Because when you join an association, one of the first questions is, what are the benefits that I have? What are the benefits that I can receive from the association? And we really want to make sure as an association that we provide the value for our members. We know that it takes, of course, dues, it takes time, it takes participation. We all have busy lives, we all have busy careers, and we want to make sure that there is value being provided. And one of the best ways to provide that value is to let everyone know what the various options are, what the various benefits could be, so that you can make a decision about how the association can best provide for your needs and provide those benefits to you. Now, some of these benefits here on this slide that we're talking about now, these are benefits to members, but they also benefit everyone in the industry. So as we mentioned, the NAFTZ is the collective voice in the industry. There's been no one else that has had the influence and has been able to share the advocacy for the program in the way that the NAFTZ has done, except for the NAFTZ. So one of the benefits is not only that we can benefit the program and benefit the industry by being that collective voice as an association, but your membership helps make it possible for the association to do that. So thank you for your membership. We want your membership, we want your participation, and we need it to do this. And as we've had strong membership, we've been able to do that advocacy and be that voice for the industry. But if you've ever attended an NAFTZ event, or if you haven't, I hope you would consider doing so, you find that there's a great opportunity for networking and for contacts. And just as we mentioned before, how we have so many different categories of membership, people from different industries and points of view, you really get to meet individuals and make contacts in a variety of points of view, places of interest. And that's very important. And if I may say, being involved in the NAFTZ for the years that I've been involved, you make some good friendships as well. And it's just a really good place to be, and a really great way to make contacts and form relationships in the industry. So, and one of the best ways to do that is through the events. So we also have discounts on NAFTZ events. So if you are a member, I think one of the things that you need to know, you may not be aware of all the discounts that you could receive, but any member of the association that is wanting to attend a new event. There's a fee for that event in many cases. Well, the fee is less for our members, and we want to make sure that that's known. So if you're considering attending an event or registering for something that may have a fee, it might be very helpful to know that as a member, your fee is less. There's a great discount for that. We also have a discount on bond premiums, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But many people may not know that as a member of the association, you could have a discount for certain bond premiums. And that's a very important thing to know. And of course, access to membership directories. We have a very good website, and we have a members only section. So all members can log into the NAFTZ website and see various resources. A couple of those resources that I think are very helpful are the membership directories. So if you're not aware of that, that may be something you want to check out. So if you made a contact or you're interested in finding out who is that person at the event I spoke with, well, you can go to the directory and look for that individual. It helps us keep in contact and helps us form those relationships and networking opportunities that we were talking about just before. So let's talk about resources and events. So as you're attending a webinar right now, and we thank you for doing that, we have many webinars throughout the year on a variety of topics, and many of these offer CE credits. So it could be anywhere from operational to legislative to trade policy or anything anything of the above. We have many webinars that are free to our members. And I think that's important to know if you're thinking about CE credits. You can get a lot of CE credits just by attending the free webinars. And if you really took advantage of all the webinars, that's a great savings if you had to arrange to pay for those and register for those all independently, paying the full price for each one. So if you are a member and you're paying dues to the association and you're not making yourself making use of the webinars, you've got a resource that you haven't tapped yet. So definitely pay attention to the webinars and consider joining those. We mentioned conferences and seminars before as great networking and events, but we have these multiple times per year. It's a great way to not only meet individuals in the industry, but hear from government officials, government agencies such as CBP and the FTZ board, and other participating government agencies such as FDA or APHIS, et cetera. And you have access to these individuals at these events, and it's a great resource. So we invite you to check those out, and we'll send you a link and have a page related just strictly to the event, so you can look on your calendars and find out when the next one will be coming up. Really important one too is the pertinent news and information. If your inbox is anything like mine, you've got a multitude of messages coming at you all the time. You've got various news stories. You may have people asking you questions. What's going on in the industry? What do you think about the various issues affecting the industry? And one of the things that I find really valuable from the association is that members receive news about the industry from the association. And one of the nice things about that is it's often condensed and curated and organized in a way that I know if I'm reading this particular publication or announcement from the association, it does pertain to the industry, and it pertains to something that I need to know about. And it helps me have a safety net that if I may miss a news story that affects the industry, the chances of the association missing it are very low, because we have so many members and a diverse background that we're gonna be able to communicate the pertinent news to our membership in a way that's better than doing it on your own. So, and here's some links to both of those things, the events and the resources. If you go to the website, it's a wealth of information for you to find out about. So let's talk about publications. And asking around, I've heard several members say they're not sure what publications are out there. What are the reference materials that are available? So we just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of the reference materials that we have. The first one is the Grantee Handbook. So for those of you who are grantees, this handbook is produced periodically by the association, and if you're not familiar with what's in it, it has all kinds of information that is specifically valuable to grantees, anywhere from best practices to maintaining compliance with the FTZ board, operational questions and considerations, and it's all tailored to the grantee, because that's a very unique job, and the grantees and the professionals in the association work very hard to curate that document so that it gives maximum value to you grantees out there to know everything you need to know, basically. I think it's a very valuable publication. The Zones Report comes out every month, and like I said, that's one of the best ways to have consolidated and concise news about the industry, not only within the association what's going on, but what's going on in the larger industry. And you can also find the Zones Report published on the NAFTZ website. So I do find myself even and frequently going back on the website and looking at back Zones Reports, maybe from a year ago or 2 years ago, if I can't remember quite what was going on, and I'm trying to think of an article that I remember reading, they're all there. So whether or not I saved them, they're there on the website for me to reference as a member. So you have all these things available to you, even if you don't have them yourself on your own computer. The NAFTZ has done studies state by state, talking about the FTZ industry and the influence of the industry in various states. And so from time to time, when the association conducts a study like that and publishes a document, we're able as members to reference that and to go back and look up the information. So these are valuable tools that would take a lot of time and effort and expense for any one company or individual to reference and to create, and the association provides them. So I think that's a great benefit. Finally, another one to mention is the E214 Trade Handbook. Now, if you're familiar with the CATER, certainly I would refer you to the CATER as far as what are the data elements and system requirements for E214s in this day and age. However, if you've ever read a CATER, there are two things I think that are important about it. One, it can be quite technical. And two, if you're having trouble falling asleep, if you read the CATER at night, it'll probably help you go to sleep sooner. It's not the most explanatory when it comes to everyday language. And so the E214 handbook reads between the lines, if you will. There's a lot of explanation about the type of requirements that the E214 needs, why they're required, what regulatory requirement it's meeting. And so it can just give you a lot of good information that you can't get just from reading the CATER. And so that could be quite useful if you're a zone operator or even a service provider or a grantee wanting to know more about what your constituency is going through. We mentioned the discount bond rates. I wanted to direct you to this slide. We have a special section on the NAFTZ website that explains the membership bond discounts, but the association has a partnership with Avalon Risk Management that allows NAFTZ members to have a substantial discount on their bonds. And anywhere you can save money, it may make you look like a hero if this wasn't known, and you can bring this to the attention of management or accounting or the CFO. It's a great benefit, and the pre-qualification is that you're a member. And so if you'd like more information about that, you can go to the link that you see below, and that will help you find out further information on that. So that is an overview of many of the perks and benefits the association offers its members. So between the publications, the news, the networking, the events, there's a great wealth to educate yourself. There's a great wealth to educate others in your organization, whether it be community members asking about the Foreign Trade Zone program if you're a grantee, whether it is management in your larger organization asking questions of how certain issues may affect the FTZ program, or steps you may need to take to stay up to date with the changing environment. you really have all that information available to you in the various forums as a member, and it would be a shame if you are a member and didn't take advantage of that. You'd really miss a lot of good information. So we want to make sure everybody is aware of those things. So as we shift, we want to talk about how we can be involved as members in the association to contribute as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Leyland, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Eric, and thank you for providing all the very useful information on the benefits of the membership for the NAFTZ. In the next slides, you will be learning about all the different NAFTZ committees and what you can do to get involved and where you can go for resources to start your journey. In the next slide, we'll kind of cover more on what committees are available. But first, we wanted to start out with the benefits. There are many different committees that the NAFTZ offers to members that emphasize on all different aspects of the trade. Being a part of a committee does involve volunteering, of course, and it does take up some time. But just understand that, you know, by participating, you basically get a wealth of knowledge just for free being on the phone, and I know it does take a lot of your time. You have the opportunity to network with professionals that are in different roles of the industry. You can also email these people directly. Me as an operator, the experience of, I can't emphasize enough how the Operators Committee has really helped me just being on the calls and just getting information as, you know, things are just changing so quickly in the industry. I could share many different examples, but one of them would be just how different customs ports are operating. Just hearing different members speak about how one port at customs will do something one way, and then the other port is doing something another way. So we kind of learn how other operators are dealing locally in their port as well for customs issues. Attending seminars can also help with your CCS or CES credit. I'm currently a CCS holder, and just basically by attending, you know, a seminar or a conference, I'm able to get some of the credits that could potentially earn the credit for maintaining my designation. And then I also wanted to touch on the knowledge that you can share internally. Basically, in our group, we're kind of considered the dark side of everything because there's so many different things that happen in the FTZs, and not everybody in your office or in the company really understands why some things can be so complicated or why some things can be a little bit easier. But when you are learning all these things in these committees that you may attend, and you could share this information back with the people that may not be indirectly dealing with the FTZs. So, for example, our accounting department doesn't realize why certain things have to be a certain way with billing, and it's just I've had a lot of different side conversations with other people that, you know, it really helped to have a sit down with them or just to give them a little bit of a high overview on how FTZs operate. So we'll go into the different committees that we have. Next slide, please. It's a great time right now to invest in your career. Basically, I see it as so many things are changing. Why not try to get out of your shell and take the time to think about what your strengths are in the industry and which committee might meet your personality the most. The first step would have to be, you know, to basically become more active. I know a lot of us, especially me myself, I get nervous a lot about speaking, and I'm not really comfortable at asking questions. And but there are, just know that there are ways that you could get involved. So it doesn't necessarily always mean that you have to speak or that you have to write something or whatnot. But you just contact the person, the chair that leads that committee, and I'm pretty sure they would be more than helpful to try to figure out what's the best way your participation will help the committee. So there are education and governance committees such as the AZS that we have, as Eric discussed, the internal policy handbook program, and then also the membership committee. For the industry, the FTZ benefits task force, the in-bond, and then the operator user. So all this information is also found on the website, because I know a lot of people don't have time to get to the website to look at the information, but there are so many different committees, and I personally, we don't get involved too many with some of the PGAs, but out of nowhere, maybe there's a new product that ships that involves the PGA, and maybe before in the past you didn't have to deal too much with that PGA, and now you do. There are groups also for PGAs, so there's a lot of different committees that you could get involved in. And again, it's just taking that step to become active. In it, you can also have, a little bit of a career advancement. Maybe it wasn't something that you were really knowledgeable about, but then that you can become an expert with. So definitely by joining a committee and taking a leadership role will help you towards that. Next slide, please. So here we wanted just to give a snapshot of some testimonials. I'm not going to read exactly what the person wrote, but just let you know that, not only by collaborating to develop yourself in the industry, but together as an association is basically what the NAFTZ is, for the voice of the FTZs. I'd like to quickly just kind of share with you, let you in my life a little bit about, how the NAFTZ has really helped me with my own professional development. I have 2 kids, and basically one is really older, which is a freshman in college, and then my daughter who just started kindergarten. I never really thought I would have any type of time to volunteer in any way, because time is basically always against me. But just realize that, your contribution is never too little. And there's a lot of recognition. I mean, we're not getting, awards or trophies or anything, but there is recognition in volunteering and taking leadership roles. I wanted to go back to school at one point in time, but I wasn't able to because of my career and of course just my home life. But going into the next slide, I was able to find something for educational benefits, which was the AZS, so I was able to find this through the NAFTZ, and I am now the chair of this committee, which I never thought I would be either, because of, just a lot of things going on with time. I didn't have a lot to volunteer, but I really just thought that if there was any way that I could contribute, I really wanted to do something that benefited both the organization and myself. So what I did find was the AZS. Please go to the website, take a look at what the benefits of the AZS are. It is accredited that you could get through the NAFTZ. It validates your expertise. It increases your marketability. I mean, think about how many people in your company right now can say that they are AZS or, have any type of certification. This is a very unique certification that not a lot of people hold, but it does definitely recognize your contribution to the NFTZ program. There's also mentor opportunities available. I actually have a couple mentors that really helped me through the past years. I didn't know much about the FTZ 9 years ago. I was, very shy and intimidated by being around a wealth of information, especially a lot of people that knew a lot about FTZs, and I didn't know much about anything on what an FTZ actually was. But I was fortunate to have, I've met a lot of people through the networking of going through the seminars, and that people that basically took me under their wing, and it was really, you know, just starting that conversation with somebody. And it was hard for me to do because I'm shy, but you know, I'm glad that I overcame it, and the people that I have met and that were, you know, able to give me the mentorship that it really helped me blossom in my career. So please consider the AZS accreditation. If you have time to go to the website, please click on it and you know, look up how you could begin your journey to become AZS. Last, I just wanted to give some additional resource information. For social media, it's basically where it is, just as Eric mentioned. He is this is his first Twitter thing, and this is also my first as well. I'm pretty old school when it comes to that. But there are other resources that you could go to, such as we mentioned, the NAFTZ website, the FTZ Career Center. I really like the NAFTZ LinkedIn page. There's a lot of information there that you could go and look at. And then, of course, Facebook. I think everybody on the line might know what that is. I'm not sure how many people have accounts, but social media just seems to be where it is, and getting engaged there is, and finding places there for your resources has just become how it is now in these days. So last, I just wanted to close and focusing, and you know, we are almost in the middle of the year of 2018. So if there's an action that you can take from, you know, this webinar, yeah, find more ways to get engaged, and you know, develop what you can with your leadership skills in these committees that we offer. Take the time to really, you know, identify what subjects you're good in, your interest, so that you can expand. Find somebody that, you know, that's willing to maybe partner with you in your company that could help you, and you guys could work together on it, you know, collaborate. Take advantage of all the networking. I mean, these seminars and conferences that we have, there's a lot of people, really nice people that are willing to, you know, sit there and have a cup of coffee with you and talk about certain subjects that you might be interested in. You never know, but you have to take the step forward to do it. Use the resources, as we've mentioned, to stay up to date. And most importantly, you know, in these trying times, there's definitely budget issues for, you know, for memberships and conferences. So take the time to sit down with your upper management and tell them your interest about, you know, membership and how you want to attend seminars and whatnot, and maybe set a budget aside to see if that can get approved. And then again, strive for change. I never thought I would be sitting here doing a webinar, but I did. And, you know, challenge yourself. It's actually very rewarding to do the volunteering. You might not get the trophy or whatnot and, you know, any special ribbons, but you'll see that your work and your dedication is recognized. Thank you. And I think, Victoria, you had some information to share on some upcoming events.
Yes, thank you. We've got, of course, in addition to our monthly webinar series, we have 4 in-person events in January, February, spring, and fall. So we, of course, encourage everyone to participate those. And they, of course, offer educational credit. We're talking CCS, CES, and CPE credit, and looking at the website for the webinar-specific ones that also do that in addition to the in-person events. I'll hand it back over to Eric and Leyland for questions.
So if you do have questions, this would be a great time to type those into the chat box, and we'll be able to see them and share them. A couple of comments I wanted to make. Leyland and I enjoyed talking about this presentation, and we were both sharing different stories about, you know, before the FTZ industry and after the FTZ industry. And I know I certainly found out that as I began to work in this industry, I had trouble explaining what I did to most family members or friends, and they had trouble understanding what it was. The FTZ is a very unique industry even if you're familiar with the trade industry in general, the FTZ is a unique aspect of that that is not common knowledge to everybody. So if you're just getting into the industry, don't be surprised if people don't know what you do. It's not it's not out of the ordinary, and so all the more reason to get involved with a group of folks that will understand what you're going through, because we're all in this very unique industry together, and we're all learning from one another. When we talk about, I like the comment that the person wrote that we had in our earlier slide. I couldn't even spell FTZ before I got involved, and my question is why would anyone want to even know about it if you weren't in the industry? But it is very challenging and it's very unique, and so please take advantage of the benefits that we have available, and share with your company, your colleagues, your management, all the ways that everyone can benefit through the collective voice of the NAFTZ. And just a note on the CEs, Leyland mentioned it as well. My CCS CEs, they require me to do a certain amount of CEs every year, and just through the NAFTZ, they're pretty much all, if not almost all, met every single time, and there's no extra cost. I think that's a fantastic benefit to the individual member. And not every webinar has CE credits available, but many of them do. So if you'll check the event description, such as the annual seminar that's coming up very soon, if you'll check the description, it will say whether or not CEs are available. And if they are available, please attend and take that benefit if you need CE credits, because it's very valuable to get. So another thing I will say about the educational side of the NAFTZ is, this has always stuck with me. It was said long ago, but nobody knows what we know. Each individual may know a lot of things. There's certainly many talented and bright people that individually are amazing in the NAFTZ, but even they don't know what we collective all know together as an association. So if you're not as involved and you want to be more involved, I believe you will absolutely not regret getting more involved in the association, so that you can learn from so many people that have been there, that have so many experiences, like Leyland was mentioning, even comparing the differences from port of entry to port of entry. Sometimes I think I know everything there is to know about something, and then you hear something else that you didn't know, and you would never have found out if it wasn't for the collaboration with everybody involved. So I think these are all good points.
There was a question on how did we get involved in the NAFTZ. Basically, when I got thrown into the FTZ at Sony, they did tell us about the NAFTZ, that it was a great association that we should probably join as an administrator, just to be in, to have the updated knowledge of what's going on in the FTZ industry. So it was something that I did hear from, internally in our company, and that just goes to show, that how big of a association the NAFTZ is, because our company did notify us to let us know that that would be a great resource for us administrators.
So I guess if I would dovetail on that same question of how I got involved in the NAFTZ. So I'm a service provider, so it's definitely what we do here at our group to provide FTZ services and consulting. But I got started in the association definitely because of that. And as I was mentioning before, one of the things I found out very early on is, even as much as I knew or thought I knew about the program, even though it was what I did on a daily basis, there's no comparison to what we can learn together. So I got involved for that reason, to be more present in the industry and to learn and to stay up to date with the things that are changing in the industry as well. And I got involved with the membership committee, quite frankly, because someone asked me to help, and they needed some help, and I didn't know much about what that would entail, but I joined right in, and all the committee members and other people involved in the association were very generous with their time and input about how to make sure that that responsibility got met. And so it's been really rewarding to be a part of the association, and not just to learn from everyone, but to actually participate and contribute as well. You get something out of both of those things.
All right.
We also had an interesting question, and we have them. Victoria, if I miss a question or if we miss a question, let me know. This window is a little small for me to read sometimes, but one of the questions that we got is, what do we think one of the biggest, most specific impacts that the NAFTZ has had on the industry throughout history? And I guess that could be somewhat of a subjective question, because maybe one person would view the impact, this is the greatest impact. Somebody may think something else is the greatest impact. But I think some things in recent history might be some good examples. So the customs regulations for FTZs have been up for rewrite for some time now, and the NAFTZ has been very instrumental in trying to provide feedback on those regulatory rewrites. And when I think about the regulations and how they impact all of us in the industry, it's really critical to make sure our voice is heard, because even though the government regulates the Foreign Trade Zone program, there's no substitute for hearing the collective voices of those of us who are in the industry and understand what goes on operationally, whether you're a grantee, whether you're a service provider or an operator user. And if you combine that with implementation of regulation, whether it be ACE coming along and the various PGAs, some of them never even knowing what a foreign trade zone was, are suddenly wondering how they're going to regulate a program they've never heard of. And that is true. Some of the PGAs before ACE really weren't aware of FTZs very much at all. And so we as an association, we're able to inform, educate, listen, have dialogue with these various agencies. And I think if things like that did not happen, who knows what we would be left with well-intentioned regulations and policies, but maybe not as good as they are and can be without that input from the association. So I hope that helps answer the question. I think it's a cumulative thing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Eric. Definitely with ACE as well. Yeah, with the PGAs, it's been a struggle for a lot of FTZ operators, I know, and for Sony as a self-filer, it was important that we did have the feedback from the NAFTZ on what was happening in ACE and how the PGAs were responding to the quick changes that were happening. So what the next question I see is, what was the best NAFTZ resource for someone new to the FTZ program? From my personal experience, I like going to the website, which we have mentioned as a resource. It does basically break it down on members and where you can find all the committee information. And then again, all the other social media resources as well. And I don't know if you wanted to add to that, Eric.
Yeah, I would certainly echo everything that you've said, Leyland, as far as resources for new members. I mean, certainly if you can get to one of the events, there's so much you learn in such a short amount of time. Those are fantastic, especially for new folks that want to get involved. But to me, I find one of the greatest resources is almost the catch-all resource of the website for the association, because from there you can get so many more sources of information. So for me, if you can make it to an event, I think that's one of the key areas. If you can review the publications on the website, I think that's another one. And one of those things you can find, as Leyland was mentioning earlier in the section about committees, if you can find a listing of all the committees on the website and how to get in touch with those folks that are in charge of those committees. And we have a wonderful staff at the NAFTZ, and you can give them a call and they can direct you as well. If you will attend the events, make use of the publications, and then get involved with some type of committee, you will absolutely expand your knowledge in a rapid fashion, in my opinion.
Yes.
So
definitely.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was going to mention another good question that came through was a question about the savings for bond operators, and that's a great question. When you receive this PowerPoint, you will have a link to that page, and you can also go to the NAFTZ website and find a link on it. But essentially, it's half off, and that's a significant savings.
Okay, and then the last question I see is who makes the determination regarding the AZS certification, and who is the best person I can work with? There are certain criteria that need to be met to become accredited. On the website, there is a breakdown of that information. So basically, there's a certain attendance that you would have to do at NAFTZ seminars and conferences. It will involve speaking and moderating, and basically just having a really active involvement in the NAFTZ for like 2 years or so. And then there is a non-refundable registration fee as well, which is for members. It's a little less than for non-members. If I can help in any way, start your checklist to go down this path to completing this, please email me. My email is also on one of the slides for the chairman of this committee, the AZS committee, and you can contact me directly, and I'll be more than happy to guide you with this any other information you might need.
So just to wrap things up, what would each of you guys say is the main takeaway from today's webinar?
Eric, you want to go first? Not sure if we have Eric still on the line. Well, from my point of view, the main takeaway would be, just to see how you could start getting more involved and active if you're a member. And if you're a non-member or you're new, don't feel, intimidated by a lot of the things that may go on that you don't understand. There are, again, a lot of resources that we have available, and then the networking is very instrumental. So, get out there and try to, meet new people and just get engaged and see how you could work with others that are in the industry, to be a part of the association and to get involved.
Can you hear me now? We have a thunderstorm rolling through. I may have dropped out there, but
you did,
I was going to say, thank you for jumping in. I heard the tail end of that, and I just wanted to say, from my standpoint, I think one of the main takeaways from today is, number one, the association cannot do what it needs to do without you. You, as a member or potential member, are absolutely vital to the association and vital to what the association can do to the industry. And at the same time, the association is very valuable to each and every member through all the resources that are available. So if you're not making use of those resources, in my opinion, you just won't be as informed as you could be. And I think knowledge is power, and it's very lightweight. So that, to me, is of utmost importance, is why folks should join the association as well.
Great. That wraps things up for us. So first and foremost, thank you to our speakers, Eric Berry and Leyland Heim, as well as all of you on the line for making today's webinar possible. Please keep your screen up, as a survey will immediately show upon the completion of the webinar. Any additional questions I receive, I will pass along to our speakers so they can address them with you directly. We look forward to having you join us on future webinars and events.